A lot to get to today on the show. We're going to talk freshmen, who's going to redshirt, who's not. But first, we've got to talk about Academy Sports and Outdoors. At Academy Sports and Outdoors, we carry all the gear you need from all the top brands, all at prices you'll love. Now shopping at Academy is more convenient than ever. We offer free assembly on in-store purchases of most bikes and grills, plus free and easy curbside pickup on academy.com orders. Want to save even more every day? Open and use an Academy Sports and Outdoors credit card to get 5% off future purchases when you're approved. Save time and money at Academy Sports and Outdoors and have fun out there. Let's bring in the star of the show, my good friend, Lettermen Row's very own, Mick Walker. Mick, it's good to see you. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Spence? Just like last
great.
week, it's the first day this week that I haven't seen you. So, of course, we wanted to do a podcast so we could look at each other, get a nice face-to-face conversation going.
Yeah, let's talk. We're going to talk freshmen today. How about that?
I love it. I've written about the freshmen a good bit, asked about them a good bit in the camp here. So, I feel like we're well informed to have this discussion now.
All right, so let's start it with this, Mick. If you think back all the way back in the Wayback Machine to the 2023 football season, only 7 freshmen did not redshirt. That would be Malik Hartford, Brandon Ennis, Jermaine Matthews, Carnell Tate, Luke Montgomery, Arvell Reese, and Caden McDonald. So that's kind of a table setter. 7 guys didn't redshirt. Last year, to no surprise, Jeremiah Smith did not redshirt. Julian Sayin did redshirt. Okay. Mylan Graham redshirted. Edric Houston did not redshirt. Aaron Scott did not redshirt. Peyton Pierce did not redshirt, and Jalen McClain did not redshirt. That's only 5, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so 6. So it's 7 and 6 the last 2 years. So you think that a lot of these freshmen could be instant impact guys, and we love talking about the freshmen because they're new, they're hip, they're young. I'm not going to use any Gen Z slang because I'm not going to date myself or make myself seem like an idiot. But, of these guys, there's only 6 or 7 of them that really play a role, even on special teams, for this roster. Now, this is a much younger roster this year than they've had the last 2 years. Maybe that changes. Maybe there's 10. I have a list of 10 guys who I think could possibly not redshirt. The rest of them, I think, are probably redshirt candidates. I'm talking about Bodpin Miller. I'm talking about Isaiah West. I'm talking about Jordan Woods and Turbo Rogers and a lot of the offensive linemen. Carter Lowe, I think, is going to probably be a redshirt guy. Cody Haddad, Trajan Odom, Deshaun Stewart, Max Roy, Desi Jones, Javon McFadden. We could go down the list with all these guys. But I've got a list of 10 guys that I think could possibly not redshirt. Let's break it down into 2 categories. Will not redshirt, and then could redshirt, but will likely not. Does that sound okay to you?
That sounds great.
All right, so let's put these guys into 2 buckets. We're going to start with a very obvious, we do not believe he will redshirt candidate, and that is 5-star plus, do-it-all, number 6 overall prospect in the 2025 recruiting cycle, longtime Ohio State commit, now an Ohio State freshman, Devin Sanchez at cornerback. Mick, are we putting him in the will not redshirt or the could redshirt category?
I'm going to put him comfortably in the will not redshirt category. And the crazy thing is I say that not necessarily even knowing what specifically he's going to do. Like, I'm not saying that he's going to start outside cornerback, which obviously is possible down the line throughout the season, depending on injuries and different developments. But I don't necessarily know where his snaps come from. I just know they want to get him snaps. So whether that's in the second half of the games and like against the Purdue or against the Rutgers or UCLA, when you kind of get down this latter stretch and you're eyeing kind of those Michigan games or those Penn State games and these games kind of in between, can you get him some fourth quarter, third quarter snaps just to get him in the thing of things, get a feel for Division I wide receivers, get a feel for like actual offenses and Division I and Big Ten athletes. So I'll put him in the not redshirt category, but I'm not necessarily sure where those snaps come from.
I think he might end up being one of the 3 rotational starters by the time we get to October. So that's where I think the non-redshirt comes in. He's going to play against Grambling. He's going to play against Ohio. They're going to get him very active in those 2 games to try to get him up to speed against Division I competition that's not Ohio State. But look, he's earned the black stripe removal as a freshman going against the Ohio State receivers every day. That's got to tell you something. So I'm not setting expectations maybe as high as some of the fan base are, that he's going to start game 1 against Texas. I do not believe that's going to be the case. But if you told me that he started, in the Rutgers game the week before Michigan, or if you told me that he started at Purdue in November, I wouldn't be stunned by that. And I think there's reason to believe that he's going to play a big role in this defense as the season goes on. They ramp him up toward that. And if he's really good in those 2 games after Texas, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the field when they go to Washington. So we're just going to say no, he absolutely will not redshirt, and we'll see how it goes from there. Next on the list, Mick, a guy that I think is included in the 4 linebackers that James Laurinaitis was talking about, or that Ryan Day was saying. Ryan Day said that there are certain guys at every position. He went through the numbers, and he actually gave us a glimpse into what they feel right now about this roster. He said there are 4 linebackers who can play right now. Basically, you have to answer the question of, do you think Riley Pettijohn is one of those 4, or do you think that 4th is Garrett Stover and Riley is not quite ready yet? I think there's probably going to end up being 5 because Stove has made a good push through this camp. From Lettermen Row sources have been talking to us about Garrett Stover a little bit. I think Riley Pettijohn, even if he's not a defensive piece, I do not believe he will redshirt, because I think at minimum he will play special teams. Do you agree with that?
100%. Like, it's the 2 Ohioans, and then it's kind of the Texas tandem behind those 2 guys when it comes to Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, and then you got Peyton Pierce and Riley Pettijohn. And the thing is, I think he could play. I think he's shown the talent to play. He lost his black stripe pretty early in camp. Like, he was impressive in spring. The other factor is, like, once those 2 guys are gone next year, if Arvell Reese decides to leave earlier, obviously I believe Sonny Styles will leave after this year, and then you kind of battle and see how much you have to pay to keep Arvell Reese around. If those 2 guys do leave, then it's down to Riley Pettijohn and Peyton Pierce next year as your starting linebacker, so you need to get him some snaps. And if we're being 100% transparent, I don't think Riley's getting paid $6 billion to be on this Ohio State roster, but I do think they are compensating him heavily to make sure to get him out of Texas and to get him on this roster. So you might as well get some use out of him as a freshman, considering he has the talent to be kind of a 3-and-done guy. So, like you said, defense, special teams, backup snaps, just trying to get him ready to play in a year whenever his time is really called to be the full-time starter, because I don't think he's going to be around here for more than 2 or for more than 3 years at this point.
Oh, you said 2. I almost asked you where he was going to go. Let's stay in that linebacker room, because we don't just want to go down the list of who's going to redshirt and who's not. Let's stay in the linebacker room. Let's talk TJ Alford. I think this is a really interesting one. This is not to put in, let's be very clear. This is not to put any of these freshmen down. It is hard to get on the field at Ohio State as a true freshman. They're not Jeremiah Smith, do not grow on trees. So I think TJ Alford is probably the unlikely to redshirt category. I don't think he's in the will not redshirt category. I think he's in the unlikely category, because there's only 2 categories we're doing here. I think TJ is going to have a role in special teams, if not at the beginning of the year, by the middle of the year. I think to what Arvell Reese did as a true freshman, where by the middle of the year he was a really good special teams player. I could see that being the case for TJ by the middle of the season. Jalen McClain, same way last year. By the middle of the season, he was on every special teams unit because he was putting in all the effort. I think TJ is a high character guy. I think he's a high motor guy. And I think Ohio State special teams will like him. And so by the middle of the year, it won't surprise me if he's on special teams and making an impact in that regard for Ohio State, meaning that maybe he doesn't redshirt because he might be another 3-year guy based on his ceiling. Am I off base there based on what we know about him from his recruitment, that you covered, or based on what we know from camp so far? I think TJ is a guy who we can't put him in the will not redshirt, but I think he's in that unlikely category.
Yeah, just body types like his, 6'2", like 200+ pounds, are useful on special teams because you got to run, you got to tackle, you got to hit. So kick off, punt, like all these different things where you're chasing ball carriers, you got to hawk them down, try and get them down on the ground. Like, he is a valuable piece in that, and obviously he's got talent, speed, and athleticism. That's why James Laurinaitis prioritized him for so long, just because he's a freak athlete at the linebacker position. I think he will be a starter for Ohio State too one day. It's just he's a little bit behind where Riley Pettijohn is right now, and it might not even be that far behind from once we get season and they get through practices and pads. But I think he will provide something that's valuable, like you said, with special teams, whether that's against Texas or that's against UCLA and Rutgers and Purdue and all these different kind of games where you have more opportunity later in the season. So I would agree with you and put him in the probably not going to redshirt, but not 100% like playing meaningful big time snaps outside of special teams.
Let's stay on that side of the ball. I think it's harder to play as a freshman on defense. So we're doing all these defense guys first, and then we'll go over to the offense. Fahim Delane, a safety. We like what we're hearing about him. We really like the reports from McArary that he was talking about on Tuesday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center when we talked to the safeties and corners. I think Fahim has made a lot of good progress. I think he is another one, Mick, in my opinion, that is unlikely to redshirt, but we can't be 100% sure yet. At minimum, I think he's going to be a special teams guy because of the athleticism and the way that he can fly down the field if he needs to. So I think he's going to go in the unlikely to redshirt, but we can't be 100% sure yet. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and it's a similar thing to like Riley Pettijohn, like highly ranked guy that's probably like getting taken care of to be on this roster, and a guy that they expect to play probably in year 2 after Caleb Downs leaves. So you have to, while obviously the goal is to win a national championship this season, first year with Julian Sands starting, with Jeremiah Smith, like you have all these tools to go make a run on a national championship this season because you have Caleb Downs back and Sonny Styles and all this stuff on defense. But you still have to look in the future and say we need Fahim Delane in 2026 to be a starting safety, I assume. So you need to find ways to get him ready as a freshman, whether that is on special teams, just getting you adjusted to the game and playing at the Big Ten level, or if that's actually playing real safety snaps in the third, fourth quarter, or even maybe as a rotational piece in different other games.
All right. That's it for the defense. Now we go to offense.
Well,
I think
that's it for the defense?
Well, I got one more.
Okay, this has been your guy, so I wasn't going to let you skip him. You've had him. If we're thinking of the same guy, you've had him all offseason, so I wasn't going to let you skip him. Larry Johnson was not going to let you skip him earlier when we talked to him last week.
Yeah. I almost did forget about him. Jarquez Carter. What are we doing with Jarquez? This is probably the most difficult one to peg, Mick, because I just don't know. Like, was Larry just talking about guys that came to his mind, or was he actually giving us a little bit of an Easter egg as to what his defensive line could look like? We know Jason Moore is in a boot right now. That's been reported over at lettermenrow.com multiple times. So, what his status is, we have no idea. We just saw him walk off the field in a boot. Can Jarquez Carter crack the rotation well enough to earn snaps? Or is he a guy like Caden McDonald, which I think this could be the case? Caden did not redshirt as a freshman because he played 4 snaps against Western Kentucky, 12 against a horrendous Purdue team. He played 1 snap on the goal line against Penn State, 3 at Wisconsin. He played 5 snaps against Michigan State and 6 against Minnesota. He didn't get a lot of snaps, but he played in 5 games, and so he didn't redshirt. I'm going to say Jarquez Carter will not redshirt. I think that it is a difficult decision because I think there are 4 obvious games he could play in, and then they could say, hey, we're going to preserve that redshirt. But I also think Ohio State knows that his ceiling is 3 and done. And so you don't necessarily need to redshirt him because he could be one of those instant impact or second year, third year impact, get to the NFL kind of guys. He kind of reminds me a little bit of what Mike Hall was on the field. And so I'm going to go ahead and say that he does not redshirt. And I'm just going to, that's my first bold prediction of the season is that Jarquez doesn't redshirt.
I think that's a very good call. I think you said like they'll definitely play in 4 games. Will they use him, push him, get him to 4? And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, all playoff games, any bowl game stuff like that does not count towards the red shirt, right?
Does not count.
Okay, so obviously they could try and do that. I don't think they're going to hold him back or do anything like that. But there's an avenue for where he only plays 4 games and plays in the postseason or something like that. I do agree. I tend to agree with you that he's not going to redshirt just because I think he'll actually have a role. But then if we'll move on to the offensive red shirts, and if we stick on the defense for one last second, I think some of these other defensive linemen, whether it's Epi Satanale, who we really liked in the first few days, like Zion Grady, those are guys where if I'm Ohio State, I'm looking at we need to get them in 4 games and try and get them a handful of snaps in 4 games so that we can actually kind of get them adjusted to this Big Ten level kind of play. There's a handful of guys like that. Trey Jodom's probably another one. Like there's a handful of guys that just on defense as freshmen, and then we'll talk about more on offense that like they need to play 4 games, and I think. Obviously, that's different than the red shirt, but there are a few guys that probably should get in that threshold as well.
Well, it's just interesting, Nick, because there are 2 sure thing games where these freshmen are going to play, unless they're just completely not ready for action. Grambling, I think everyone on the roster might play, and including a lot of the walk-ons. And then Ohio, which I think a lot of the second and third string guys will at least get a series. And so, we'll see what happens there, but that's 2 of the 5 already. And it's not just that you have to play 4, you have to play 5 to burn your red shirt. So it could be tough for Jarquez, but if he's continuing to push already, by midseason, you would expect that he could be in the rotation. So we'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and say that he's not going to redshirt, and that he's going to play a full year this year. let's lump two of these guys together. We don't want to be here too long. Before we do though, Mick, I got to tell you, man, about Academy Sports and Outdoors. At Academy Sports and Outdoors, we carry all the gear you need from all the top brands, and it's all at a really low price that you will love. Now shopping at Academy is even more convenient than ever. We offer free assembly on all in-store purchases of most bikes and grills, plus free and easy curbside pickup at academy.com orders. Plus, if you want to save some money, open and use an Academy Sports and Outdoors credit card to get 5% off future purchases when you're approved. Save time and money at Academy Sports and Outdoors and have fun out there. Mick, let's talk about this wide receiver duo. I think if there's two of these wide receivers that are going to play for Brian Hartline this year, I would have to say it would be Quincy Porter and Phillip Bell. P. Bell, as you could call him for short. Even that might make you hungry, though, because it kind of reminds you of T-Bell. Quincy Porter was the first freshman, the only freshman in the spring to lose his black stripe. But some folks have been rumbling that I don't know if he's had a full training camp because of some things that have set that a couple minor things that have set him back. I don't know how ready he's going to be, and also this wide receiver room is absolutely loaded. Like, why, no offense to Quincy, I think he's going to be a really, really, really good player for Ohio State. But is he better right now than Jeremiah Smith? No. Is he better than Carnell Tate? No. Is he better than Brandon Inniss, Bryson Rogers, Mylan Graham, and the 4 tight ends that are all going to be playing on the field, maybe even 5? Probably not good and probably not ready enough to crack this rotation. I'm going to go ahead and say that Quincy is on the likely to redshirt, and I might even move him out of these two categories into the very likely to redshirt category, unless they think that he's a 3-year guy, in which case it doesn't matter if he redshirts. So they might as well just play him on specials and everything anyway.
Yeah, the avenue for Quincy Porter playing and burning a redshirt this year is the fact that when he's at his best, he's at healthy, and he's like actually playing. He's probably the third outside, like strictly outside wide receiver behind Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. Like, I think he could take time away from Bryson Rogers because he's a 6'4" guy on the outside compared to Bryson Rogers. He's probably more 6 foot. I don't think they're going to play Mylan Graham or Brandon Inniss a ton on the outside. I don't think that's where they want to play him. Like, that's not the goal for either of those guys, but obviously you got to find a way to get talent on the field. And Ryan Day and Brian Harlan have mentioned profusely how tall and how big Quincy Porter is and how you can kind of use him. So that's the avenue, especially when you consider, like, again, next year is he a guy that you need to start on the outside. Obviously, that's not really how Brian Hartline's room works. You kind of earn it, and you just kind of get on the field and hold on to the playing time from there. So we'll see if that is kind of the path for him. But I would tend to agree that it feels unlikely that he burns his red shirt. But if for some reason they need more outside wide receivers, or if he just makes a push mid-season or earlier this late season, like once he gets fully healthy, I guess there could be playing time because that's just kind of how Brian Hartline operates.
In a weird way, though, Mick, I think there could be a chance that Phillip Bell is less likely to redshirt than Quincy Porter, because I think Phillip could have an impact on special teams. And I don't know, 6'4" wide receiver, that's a little bit of a skinnier guy. Quincy can fly, man, but I don't know how ready he is for the kind of role that they might want him in on special teams. Whereas the kind of stuff that they might ask Phillip Bell to do, maybe he's a better fit for special teams. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely off base there, but I think both of those guys, and we don't have to spend too much more time on this with Phillip, because I think he is, unlikely to redshirt, but also, like, you could see a path that why they would redshirt him. I think of Brandon Inniss, who didn't redshirt as a freshman, but really didn't play a lot. I think that could be in the cards for Phillip. So I think both these guys are maybe a little lean toward likely to redshirt, but there's a chance that neither of them do, and so I wanted to include them here.
I agree with both those inclusions. All
right, we have 3 more, Mick. We'll kind of burn through these a little bit. Jake Cook, he's running second-team offensive guard right now. I think he's unlikely to redshirt, but I definitely can see why they would. Do you agree?
Yeah. And it's just, I think when it comes to those backup guard snaps or whatever, you got to get them to Gabe Van Sickle and some of these guys that you think maybe could be impact players for you next year or down the line, just ahead of the pecking order of where Jake's at right now. Obviously, if Jake overtakes the Gabe Van Sickle or kind of passes them on the depth chart, then you give those to Jake. But I feel like right now Gabe Van Sickle's kind of got that top slot for true backup guard, third guard kind of in the lineup. So if you're taking him out, if you're taking some of the starters out and you're putting a guard in, it feels like it goes to Gabe Van Sickle, which then cuts into Jake Cook's ability to play a ton of extra games and snaps.
Yeah, and then obviously, I think Josh Padilla is also an interior guy who they'd like to get in the mix a little more frequently than they would Jake Cook right now. So we'll see. I think there's a chance, but also there's a chance the other way too. Two more. One that I am almost certain will not redshirt. Let's go there next. Keenan Bailey's room. Nate Roberts. I've had people tell me that he's the best freshman tight end they've ever had at Ohio State. I've had people tell me that they rotated 5 tight ends at times this training camp leading into prep for Texas. I think we're all surprised by that, but also if you know Nate, you know that his goal was to be college ready. He's the most college ready tight end that they've had as a true freshman. And I don't think it's lip service when Keenan Bailey says he's going to make an impact instantly for this team like he did on Wednesday. I think Nate Roberts is going to play, and I don't think there's going to be a red shirt involved in this at all.
Not in the slightest. Like, I totally agree with that. I think you and I even spoke to some sources last week. I think they have different roles and different ideas on how to get Nate involved, just because he's too talented to kind of keep off the field, whether that is as tight end or doing different stuff with him out wide or lined up in different formations and whatnot. There's a clear plan on how you want to kind of play Nate and get him involved in the game. So I don't see him redshirting. I think it's what we talked to this whole fall camp. We talked to Tavian St. Clair because he's one of 3 quarterbacks, but we still expect him to redshirt because there's no reason that he should be playing over Julian Sain or Lincoln Keenholz. Like, he doesn't need those snaps right away. And then we talked to Bo Jackson, who I imagine we'll get to in a minute, and we talked to Nate. I believe that's about all the freshmen we've talked to this fall. So obviously it's not super indicative of anything, but it's not nothing because these coaches and these assistants get to tell us essentially who we talk to. So the fact that Nate Roberts got put out amongst Jelani Thurman and Max Clare and Bennett Christian and Will Kazmarek means something, at least to Keenan Bailey. That's why he wanted him to kind of speak to the media.
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree. Last one. You already said his name on here, Bo Jackson. I think he's RB3 right now, but I also know that Sam Dixon has had a really strong camp. So I think there's reason to think that maybe Sam could earn some carries as RB3, but it's hard to ignore what Bo did in the spring and then what he's done in training camp right now. From Lettermen Row sources, said they've told us that Bo had a really good second scrimmage. That was the audition, basically, the final audition. I think Bo kind of killed it there. I do not believe Bo will redshirt. I think they'll get him carries in at least 5 games, and he will burn the red shirt and not have to use it.
Totally agree. I'm all in on Bo Jackson. I think a lot of people inside the Woody Hayes Athletic Center are. Carlos Loughlin clearly is. And even if, like we talk about with Nate Roberts, there's specific plans, kind of goals, and different ways you get him involved. I think we saw in the spring, we saw it in a couple of those open practices. If you're trying to get outside run game, some of the zone stuff or whatever it is, pitch stuff, and you get outside and give him a runway, that's exactly what Bo Jackson does best. And I think Ryan Day, Tyler Bowen, and even Carlos Loughlin just putting this run game together will have a good idea on how to get Bo involved, whether that's a handful of snaps every game to kind of make sure that he is playing. The other guy that I on offense, and it's another running back, I don't think Turbo Rogers, he's kind of dealt with some different injury stuff, I believe, throughout this latter part of camp here, kind of been limited. So I don't think he's going to deal with any kind of actual playing time this year. But I do think when Isaiah West is healthy, so if that's coming down the stretch and you're talking about fourth quarter carries against Purdue and UCLA and Rutgers and like some of these games, so like if he gets fully healthy, I think he could quickly approach 4 games if he's able to get into this next couple of weeks and get into 100%, just because I know work ethic, mentality, picking up everything, he's been pretty impressive to some of the people that I've talked to around the Woody.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think so. Here's the 4 games that are most likely. There are 5 games that are most likely to burn a red shirt for a freshman: Grambling, Ohio, Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers. The interesting thing is Purdue, UCLA, and Rutgers is in November. So all of these freshmen will not really be freshmen anymore. So if they're ready, then they'll be able to play in those 3 games after they played in those first 2. And that third one of those 3, the Rutgers game, will really be the determining factor of like, okay, do we want to burn this guy's red shirt or not? If you don't see a guy go in against Rutgers and he's already sitting on that 4-game threshold, you'll know that they wanted to redshirt him. And if he goes out there against Rutgers, then you'll know that they're comfortable not redshirting him, because it is a marker of which guys are really taking that step as a freshman and which guys aren't. If you look, I mean, the guys who did not redshirt in 23 did have an impact on the 2024 team. The guys who did not redshirt last year are slated to have a pretty decent impact come this season. So, I think that is a good indicator of what they want from their guys. And then, I mean, I'll just throw it out there, Mick. Like, The last time Ryan Day got a win against that team up north, some second teamers that ended up playing in that game. So, if he turns off if he unchains everything, which he hasn't done really at all the last 4 years. He's just tried to win the rushing battle and beating his head against a wall. If he unhooks the plow on the offense and they get up on Michigan in the fourth quarter, I'm just kidding. I can't do that. We can't do that. He hasn't won in 4 years. We can't do that. But
that is Spencer Holbrook, folks. You can find him on social media or on the Lettermen Lounge message board if you want to take issue with the comments you just said.
All right. It's August 21st. We haven't even hit games yet. If you're a Michigan fan that's going to troll me at the 23-minute mark of a video breaking down Ohio State freshmen, you are a sicko to the point where you deserve to be able to troll me. So that was just a joke, guys. I'm just kidding. And if you're an Ohio State fan that's thinking this guy's an idiot, well, at least you watched the video. Thanks for the view. I appreciate that. I also appreciate my guy Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. We're going to get over to lettermenrow.com, cover the Buckeyes, where we do 365 days a year. Still have 9 days for $1. If you go to lettermenrow.com right now, get a membership. $1 for the next 9 days up until that Ohio State-Texas game. You've already missed out on a lot of coverage, but you can go back and read it and then get all of our prep for the Texas game over at lettermenrow.com. A lot of premium content over there from Austin Ward, from Jeremy Birmingham, two names you know and love, from Alex Gleitman, a longtime member of the Ohio State media ecosystem, from Mick Walker, crack recruiting reporter for Lettermen Row, and just myself. I'm just Spencer Holbrook, guys. That's all I am. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys over on that $1 deal at lettermenrow.com. And we'll see you back here on Friday for another breakdown of the Buckeyes. Heck, I might even let Mick talk a little recruiting. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.